It's 2 a.m. The world has gone completely quiet, and inside your head, a conversation from 3 days ago is playing on repeat, word for word. You're sharpening the comeback you didn't make, re-examining the way they looked at you, rewriting what you said and what you wish you'd said instead. And every replay makes the moment feel slightly bigger, slightly worse, and slightly further from what actually happened. You know it isn't helping. You can't stop. The exact neuroscience of why your brain forces you into this loop, especially at night. The clinical term for what you're doing, and the honest split between two completely different versions of the same behavior, same act, opposite psychology. In 1927, Soviet psychologist Bluma Zygarnik discovered something the brain has been doing ever since. She found that the human mind treats unfinished tasks completely differently from finished ones. Unfinished things stay active. Finished things go quiet. A conversation that ended without closure, without you saying what you meant, without them understanding what you tried to say, is filed in the brain as unfinished business. And unfinished business doesn't get to rest. Your brain keeps the tab open, keeps the system running, keeps cycling through the data, hoping to finally close the loop. That's the Zygarnik effect. And it's the reason a 40-second exchange from Tuesday afternoon can run laps in your head every night for a month. There's a clinical name for what you're doing. Researchers David M. Clark and Adrian Wells named it in 1995. Post-event processing. It's the formal term for the mental review people perform after a social interaction. Going back over it, examining their own performance, searching for what they did wrong. Their research found something specific. People with high empathy, high self-awareness, or social anxiety engage in post-event processing far more often and far more intensely than the general population. Which means if you do this, now you're not broken, you're wired with the exact traits that make people good at reading rooms, deep at processing emotion, and genuinely careful about how they affect others. The same wiring that makes you thoughtful is the wiring that won't let you sleep. Hit subscribe if any of this is hitting closer than expected. We're going somewhere important. Let's talk about why this happens at night specifically, because that detail is actually neuroscience, not coincidence. During the day, your brain is occupied. External input, work, conversations, notifications, decisions, keeps your attention pointed outward. When the lights go off and the world goes quiet, your brain shifts into what neuroscientists call the default mode network, the internal thinking system. Without external input to process, the default mode network turns inward. It pulls up unresolved material, it runs simulations, it looks for unfinished business. And the Zygarnik effect points it straight at that conversation. That's why you can be perfectly fine all day and erect the moment your head hits the pillow. It isn't anxiety appearing from nowhere. It's a system finally getting bandwidth to process what it couldn't earlier. Most people who replay conversations grew up needing to read rooms to stay safe. If you grew up in a home where one wrong word could change the temperature of the whole house, where adults' moods were unpredictable, your nervous system learned to scan every interaction for threat. As an adult, the war is over. The room is safe, but the system that protected you doesn't know that yet. So at 2 a.m., it's still patrolling. You're still scanning for hidden threats in conversations that ended hours, days, or years ago. The vigilance is the same. The danger is gone. Nobody told the body. Here's what's quietly being researched but rarely named. The replay isn't just remembering, it's distortion. Susan Nolan Huxama spent her career studying rumination. Her studies found something brutal. Each replay makes the original event less accurate, not more. Your tone in your memory becomes worse than it was. Their reaction becomes harsher than it was. Your supposed mistake becomes more visible than it was. By the 10th replay, the conversation in your head has almost nothing to do with what actually happened in the room. You're not analyzing reality anymore. You're analyzing a fiction your brain wrote about reality. And the fiction always casts you as the villain. That's what rumination does. It edits the story until you're the one who needs to apologize. The cost matters more than most people realize. Every hour spent replaying a conversation is an hour your brain isn't recovering. Working memory drains, decision-making degrades, creativity disappears. The next morning, you're not just tired. You're running on a system that spent the night doing crisis simulations on a problem that doesn't exist anymore. And here's the harder truth. You're spending some of your most valuable mental energy on people who aren't even in the room with you anymore. They're asleep. They've forgotten. And you're still hosting them in your head, rent-free, at 3 in the morning. Two completely different things look identical from outside. Same behavior, opposite psychology. The first is reflection. You think about what happened, you find one piece of insight or one thing to do differently, and your mind moves on. Reflection ends. It produces something. It closes the loop and lets you sleep. The second is rumination. You think about what happened, you find 10 things wrong, and your mind opens more loops than it closes. Rumination doesn't end. It produces nothing. It just keeps cycling, and every cycle makes the original event feel worse than it was. The test is simple. After thinking about a conversation, do you feel clearer or do you feel worse? Clearer is reflection. Worse is rumination. Almost everyone watching this is in the second one, and nobody ever taught you the difference. There's a line worth carrying with you after this video ends. You're not as important in other people's heads as you are in your own. They're not replaying the conversation. You are. And that asymmetry is the whole prison. Before you go, here's one thing to try tonight. When the loop starts, don't try to stop it. Get up. Write the conversation down. Write what you wish you'd said. The brain replays because it's afraid it'll forget the lesson. The moment your hand finishes writing, the brain registers the data as saved. The tab can finally close. Come back and tell me in the comments what happened when you tried it. And one more thing. The version of you running that simulation at 2 a.m. is a child who learned to scan rooms to stay safe. That child is doing their job. They don't know the danger has passed. Your job, gently, is to teach them. You're not crazy for replaying conversations. You're a careful, attentive, deeply considerate person whose brain learned to keep you safe by keeping you alert. That's not a flaw. That's history. If this hit deeper than expected, subscribe for more videos that explain the psychology behind the thoughts you can't turn off at night, the conversations you replay, the guilt you carry, the patterns nobody ever explained. You're not alone in any of it.